Yo, what's up guys, the Insane Game Freak here to bring you a nostalgia rush. I know it's been a while and I know you wanted a new one, so I'm here to give it to you. And so take it in its big, chunky, sweet goodness and savor it. Because I don't know when the fuck I want to be consistent again, so whatever, enjoy it. And this time is going to be a little different. If you couldn't tell by the title or the thumbnail, we are not tackling an old cartoon, we are tackling an old TV show, which, as a general side note, don't really be expecting too many of these, considering I didn't really watch, ironically even then, I didn't watch that many live action shows. This is literally probably the one I know the best because, and I remember almost everything about it, which is kind of shocking in retrospect. Because the only thing that comes close to this is maybe Family Matters, which you would think the gap in between those aren't that big. It's actually pretty big. It's surprising. I don't know why. I remember watching it almost just as religiously. I think I just forgot more of it. I'm not totally sure. Well, I think because that ended before this came on. That ended before this ended, which just ended like maybe, has it been, how long has it been? I don't want to go look it up. If I go look up how long Fresh Prince of Bel-Air has been on, how long it ran and when it ended, I'm going to be pissed because I'm pretty sure it's older than what I think it is, which is why I'm throwing it on here. But yes, we were tackling Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. A lot of you guys know this show, particularly because this is where Will Smith got his start from. Which is kind of funny because if you know anything about Will Smith, you know that originally this was his fallback plan. Will Smith originally was a rapper before he even started that. And he was like one of those one-hit wonders, and he got really reckless with his money. He blew it all, so pretty much this was him selling out. That's the best way to describe it. Will Smith and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was just like the most successful way Will could sell out. Because that's really what it was. It was like, shit, I don't have any money, I gotta pay back all this shit I didn't on the banks and whatnot. And he's like, well, they want me for this TV show, let's see how this goes. And it just ended up working out insanely well. It's kind of funny though, because most people who sell out don't have this kind of luck. But Will was insanely lucky, and he took advantage of that shit up the ass. Like, up the ass he took advantage of it. Because, I mean, well, none of his, well, to me personally, not any of his recent stuff, but like, I think everything up until around, what was his last good movie, 7 Pounds, was that it? I thought there was something after that. It might be 7 Pounds was the last good one, because people didn't like Men in Black 3. No one gives a shit about, I think after her, people were just like, Jaden, you cannot act for shit. But the whole point is, Will took that whole acting game to another level, and he just became fucking beast. For the most part, he had some fuck-ups. Even though I like some of his fuck-ups, like, what is it, Wild Wild West. I actually do like that movie. I know a lot of people don't. But the whole point is, this is where he started, and I'm just going to gush. This is going to be one of those, oh my god, I love this show kind of modes. Because I remember way too fucking much about this show. So that's going to start. I mean, obviously the premise is pretty simple. Will was born in Philadelphia, and he got into some gang shit, and his mom was like, we ain't gonna have you over here dealing with this gang shit, so I'm sending you to Bel-Air to live with your uncle, who's rich as fuck because he's a lawyer. And pretty much afterwards, that's what it is. It's him being moved to Bel-Air and trying to fit in with Bel-Air society and pretty much make something out of himself while being at his uncle's place with his cousins and shit. That's really all the premise is, and you would think, how good could this possibly be? You'd be fucking surprised how good this shit was. I love Fresh Prince. I think I could literally rewatch that entire fucking show and not get bored. No bullshit, which is weird. I think the only thing I can't really rewatch as much is probably the early episodes. The later episodes I'm perfectly fine with, but like the early episodes, it takes a little to get into it. And let's just go through the cast. Now, I think the only character that actually got replaced or switched out was Vivian. Because OG Vivian and new school Vivian, two damn different Vivians. Me personally, my favorite is old school Vivian. Granted, new school Vivian isn't bad, but the biggest thing I guess maybe it's me being a black kid is my relation for my whole nostalgic preference for old school Vivian. Because old school Vivian was an OG. She was like one of those black moms that you couldn't fuck with. Like the black mom that could get everybody to sit their asses down no matter what the fuck was going on. And she killed it. She fucking killed it. And then we got New School Vivian, who isn't bad, but the problem with New School Vivian was she was just kind of there. Like, she didn't really, like, I don't even remember many episodes focused on her. And everything that was usually based on something, like, stereotypically feminine. Like, I like the Old School Vivian had the whole ballerina thing focused on her, where she wanted to get back into dancing, but shit was too hard. And then, like, her and Will had this kind of moment, and she kind of got back into dancing. She fucking killed it. She fucking killed it like a beast. And she didn't even, not even on some fucking, I'm gonna become a dancer bullshit. No, she just fucking killed it for the sake of killing it. She's like, I still got it, fuck you, Nick. She's like, that was my shit. Old School Vivian was the shit. You couldn't fuck. Uncle Phil was afraid of Old School Vivian. Old School Vivian was G. Not granted, I'm not saying New School Vivian doesn't have moments like that. I'm just saying Old School Vivian killed it. I'm sorry, you can't fucking fix that. You can't do it. You can't fucking do it. Oh God, you can't do it. But getting into the rest of the cast, I love Jeffrey's smart remarks every time somebody, particularly on the fat jokes, killed me. Between Will and Jeffrey, the fat jokes on Uncle Phil was fucking ridiculous. Uncle Phil, he bust that nigga out so much. Speaking of Uncle Phil, I love Uncle Phil. I think the best thing about Uncle Phil, and this isn't the best thing, is his like full-on rage mode rants usually it's towards Will, but sometimes it includes Carlton because Carlton was going through. That's the one thing I also like. Almost all the characters grow in some way or another in the series, particularly the kids. Maybe not Vivian and Uncle Phil, but the kids, for the most part, they all grow. Except for Nikki, who shows up way later in the series. And by the time he shows up, they don't really have to do anything to focus on him. They kind of just use him as a way to develop other characters. Like, for example, when Nikki was going through that phase where he was still doing that whole favorite shit, and it was like Will and Carlton. I forget the name of the damn dinosaur that he was into. It was like Dinky or some shit. And like Will ended up fighting the dinosaur, which kind of ruined Nikki's childhood, at least for that character anyway. And that was more of a Will thing. I mean, it's kind of a Nikki thing, but that was more of a Will thing than anything else. But Nikki wasn't really used for to develop him. It was more of just developing other characters through him, using him. Like when they even made the decision to get pregnant again, it's one of those same kind of situations. But most of the kids grew. Like, for example, I mean, almost every character went through. The only character that doesn't go through, like, at least a job switch is probably Ashley, but that's because Ashley, I don't even think was out of high school by the time the series ended. She was not even in college yet, I don't think. I do not think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Ashley was out of high school yet. But Ashley, by the way, Ashley was my little crush because I'm a fanboy like that. I fucking loved Ashley. Just no bullshit. Just fucking loved Ashley. And here's the reason why. Ashley ended up showing a very interesting dynamic between her and Will, because out of the entire like kid group, like, you know, Carlton, Hillary, Ashley, Nikki I don't count because he came in way later. Like, it was ridiculous. You only had Carlton, Ashley, and Hillary. Hillary and Will barely connected. They don't even start connecting to me personally until like the whole Hillary show thing that she does. And that happens after a while. It happens after the whole Trevor bullshit. Anyone remembers Trevor? Oh God, Trevor. Oh, no one likes you, Trevor. Which is funny considering how they, I'm not going to spoil it, but let's just say that whole Trevor plotline was fucking ridiculous. Which I did like, because that was, granted, Hillary's probably my least favorite, and that's purely because Hillary wasn't really meant to be that likable to begin with. She's like the fat, I mean, for God's sakes, I think like early season, she doesn't work. And when she does work, the only job she sticks with is that fucking weather girl job, which was retarded, which went to the whole Trevor bullshit. And then after that, I think after that is when we went to the Hillary show, which was, that worked. I still don't understand how that worked, but then again, Hillary is rich, and she managed to do things that confuse the shit out of me. So fuck it, no one cares enough. Which is funny, because Will ended up working on that show. I think he worked there first, and then he ended up working at that college store with Carlton later on. But going back to Ashley, which was what the original point was, I like the dynamic because Ashley was the only one that kind of correlated with Will a lot. Granted, because she was the youngest at the time, and Will kind of had that impression on her that her brother and her older sister didn't because they were all bougie and shit. Will was a lot more down to earth. And I love Ashley for it because it was not only that, but she had these interesting episodes like the one where she wanted to go to public school, but obviously I wanted to do higher education, which is interesting of a plot line because you wouldn't expect it to be addressed in any type of TV show. Like, I wouldn't expect, they usually wouldn't go for that. That's what I'm saying. So I thought that was interesting. And she ended up getting to go to the public school anyway, which was awesome. Granted, we had to go through some fucking Will pretending to be Uncle Phil pretty much. Well, I actually pretended to be Uncle Phil and then hitting on her public school teacher, which was fucking gold. But the other interesting thing about her was that I think it's the one you got to see grow up the most, physically and literally. There's actually episodes for the most part was whole dealing with her how she wasn't a kid anymore, and her just changing as a person, not being that stereotypical bougie girl like Hillary was, or bougie kind of like how Carlton was, because they were already at that age. So she kind of grew with a more mixed view of things. But the problem is that they go into that straight teen mode where she's like going out with guys and getting dates, and you get to see her and Will's relationship turn from these like best of buddies to fucking Will turning into Uncle Phil, being like, who you going out with? Is that your daughter? And it's funny, and for the Family Matters crossover, what is Steve Urkel's real name? Jaleel White. I'm being so stupid. He actually was one of her boyfriends. I think he was probably the most prevalent of her boyfriends on Fresh Prince, so that was cool. That's your little crossover for today. So I don't know, and I just really like that whole relationship. Plus that she still had to do the whole I'm not a kid anymore, and she wants to be independent and go on her own. Her parents were still in that whole, kids, she's like, you don't understand, I'm trying to protect you bullshit. Carlton also had a very interesting development because Carlton went from that ignorant ass bougie kid who didn't know shit about the world to becoming a really enlightened. And granted, a lot of this happened through Will. Like, for example, this is the episode that always sticks out to me the most, is the racism episode, even though it's a racism episode without actually just being overly, like, bashing you over the head with racism. Which is when they have to take Uncle Phil's, like, friend's car down to where they're at, and they get pulled over by the cops, and the cops think they stole the car, and it's like that, you stole the car because you're black bullshit. And I like that dynamic because Will's kind of like, get out the car, Carlton. He's like, why I have to get out the car? I'm like, because he thinks we stole the car, Carlton. And Will gets out the car and just automatically just knows what to do. He's just like, he gets on the car and just spreads out. That's the inherent difference between Carlton and Will, is that Carlton was more of that sheltered kid, whereas Will grew up in the streets, so he knows how a lot of things work. Like, even in another episode, and this episode gets me, I can never, ever not remember this episode, and that's that fucking gun episode. If anyone knows what I'm referring to, is the episode where Will gets shot. Oh! Oh, God, that episode. Oh, you don't even know. That episode, son, was just straight out ridiculous. Oh, the whole thing with him and Carlton, give me the gun, you owe me, I saved your life. And he takes the gun, he takes the bullets out, and he just breaks down and cries in the bed. It's one of those like really fucked up quiet scenes. I was like, oh my God. That and the pills one, which was one of the early episodes when somebody offered him speed and Carlton accidentally took it, turned to this whole drug thing. Carlton wasn't even going to throw him under the bus, but he threw himself under the bus because he felt bad. And that scene where he was, I hate that scene. Will, that's when it showed Will was a really fucking good actor. That's how you could tell. Some of them scenes he sold so goddamn well. In the other one, the father episode. Oh God, that father episode. That final scene where he's talking, like his dad leaves and he's talking on the field. He's like, oh, that's cool, man. I can go with the honeys. They be looking fly this time of year. And he's like, you know what, Uncle Phil? I'm gonna get a good job. I'm gonna get a good house. I'm gonna get me a fine ass honey. We're gonna have a whole bunch of kids, and I'm gonna be the best father I can to them. I'll be a better father than he was because there ain't nothing he can tell me about raising my damn kids. And he's like, how come he don't love me, man? And just cry. Oh God. Oh my God. Oh God. Will kills it. Which, by the way, he actually goes through his own set of development where he doesn't really know what to do in life. And especially the girls he's with. I love that transformation. The one thing that kind of got old after a while is that Will was like with a different chick like every few episodes, if not every damn episode. It was retarded. So when we got to that whole, at one point he was dating Queen Latifah. That was a one-shot thing, but still, after a point, we were like, Will, you need to, they had him mature. And when we were introduced to Lisa, oh, I love Lisa. Lisa, that shit was gold. I think my favorite thing about that whole Lisa thing was him admitting that he loves her, which was funny because they had him do that in a fat suit, and like his clothes on the fat suit fell off, so he was like butt naked in the fat suit, like the fat suit was naked, and he's like sitting there going, "I love you, Lisa." Also, the whole mind fuck with the wedding that comes later on with that, which was actually a very interesting twist, and it turned into a very interesting setup, and that ending. It was just one of those endings, man. But, alright, I've rambled on enough. Please tell me your favorite Fresh Prince Bel-Air episodes, what you liked about the show, what you don't like about the show. Thank you guys for watching. Please, yeah, I'm tired. I think I've Fresh Prince, I actually might go look up some episode now. I don't even give a fuck. Anyways, life's a game, play to win, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace! Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah. But as I said, it being a dark comedy, the biggest fault of the series is actually its biggest pro, and it's its dark comedy.